The backup plan for AEW Collision's premiere episode has been revealed if CM Punk does not return to All Elite Wrestling, plus plenty of updates on the other drama surrounding the former AEW World Champion involving has Ace Steel returned to the company, what's CM Punk's current status with the company, what's the internal reaction, much more on that. Plus, AEW Fight Forever may now finally have a release date for AEW's long anticipated video game, and it could come next month. Adam Cole was reportedly supposed to be teased as MJF's next world title opponent this past week on AEW Dynamite. Speaking of Adam Cole, he'll be facing Chris Jericho at Double or Nothing in an unsanctioned match. An update on the ticket sales for AEW All in London, as they have reportedly slowed in recent weeks. AEW has also been in talks with Madison Square Garden. Details on that, plus a TBS Championship match, has been announced for Double or Nothing as well. Orange Cassidy will be defending his title at Double or Nothing, but he will also be defending it next week as well on AEW Dynamite. Soraya has opened up on the issues between Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, and Jungle Boy is warned after a dangerous spot on this past week's episode of AEW Dynamite. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling. And the biggest story this week, of course, has been about CM Punk, his status with the company, his omission from the AEW Collision announcement at the Warner Media Discovery upfront. So what's the latest, and is there a backup plan if things can't be resolved between the two parties? Well, the backup location for the premiere episode of AEW Collision on June 17, if CM Punk isn't making his return, has now possibly been revealed. The well-known original plan had been for the show to take place at the United Center in Chicago, Illinois, and play host to the big return of former two-time AEW World Champion CM Punk. However, things may have, according to who you talk to, looked to have fallen apart once again, as Punk and AEW are reportedly in disagreement over the future of Ace Steel. Steel was reportedly rehired by AEW months ago. We'll touch on that in just a second because there's conflicting information about that, as there is with everything in AEW at the moment. But the decision was made that Steel won't be allowed to actually attend the AEW shows in person backstage, according to one report. CM Punk, though, wants Ace Steel to be able to be backstage at Collision tapings, hence the falling out or disagreement. This disagreement reportedly led to Punk being removed from all of the promotional material for AEW Collision at the last minute, and the idea of him returning looks to be on the ropes. Tony Khan then appeared on AEW Dynamite this past week and announced upcoming dates and locations for Collision, but did not announce the location of the premiere episode on June 17, instead announcing that he'll be announcing it next week. Basically, the idea seems to be that Khan has given himself an extra week to figure out whether to commit to it being in Chicago or not, also known as Is Punk Going to Be Returning or Not? On the Wrestling Observer radio show yesterday, Dave Meltzer reported that AEW is working on booking its spiritual home in Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida, as a backup option. He said, quote, "They do have the United Center booked. They are working on Daly's Place, booking Daly's Place. In Daly's Place, people have been told it's a backup plan. It's not the A plan, so Chicago is still in place." So I think the basic thing is they either settle it and he announces the United Center and Punk is back, or they don't, and if they don't, I think from my standpoint, I think that's going to be it. Punk isn't coming back. You should never say never because it's never it, but this was a real bad situation the way it went down. Now, even if Khan does go with Daly's Place, there would still be a couple of weeks to reconcile with Punk, so it's not impossible that Punk could return there, but if the United Center is announced, it pretty much means, barring another bust-up, Punk is confirmed to be coming back, because you'd think Khan wouldn't commit unless he's 100% sure. So reportedly, Daly's Place could be the backup option. Now, when it comes to an update on these issues between CM Punk and AEW regarding the current status of Ace Steel, of course, it emerged this week that Punk was set to be included in all of the announcements for the new AEW Collision show, but was removed at the last minute. PW Insider broke the story that the reason for all of this was that Punk and AEW were again, quote, at odds, this time over Ace Steel. Punk reportedly wanted Steel to be brought back into the company to work backstage at Collision, which Fightful Select reported that was actually something mentioned by Chris Jericho in the recent Punk-Khan-Jericho meeting. Of course, that took place a few weeks ago. The belief is that Khan was on board with rehiring Ace Steel, but having him work remotely and not allowing him to be backstage at AEW shows. That's reportedly what led to this new issue between Punk and AEW, as Punk wants him to be backstage. Steele, of course, was initially fired by AEW after his involvement in the Punk Elite Backstage Brawl at All Out, also known as Brawl Out. Now, a new report then emerged from Nick Hausman of House of Wrestling, stating that Steele was actually rehired by AEW, quote, months ago. Steele has reportedly been working remotely since that point, but there was said to be an understanding that he would return to the road once Collision kicks off, but the decision was made not to do that. At that point, after Punk heard about it, there was reportedly some miscommunication between lawyers, and Punk was removed from the Collision promotional material. Hausman did add to the report that it does seem like Punk is still motivated and the relationship between Punk and Tony Khan is still on sound footing. Now, this was then expanded upon by Dave Meltzer in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. He commented on what he had heard about the Steele situation, writing, quote, Nick Hausman reported that Steele was actually rehired months ago. We had that denied to us when asking several weeks back, but based on what we were told by others weeks ago, when the name first started surfacing, the claim had been that he was hired a few weeks before that, so about 6 or 7 weeks ago would fit that timetable. But at the time, those close to him said that it was a closely kept secret and he would actually return at the first Collision show. Even top people in AEW at the time were unaware of this, and most still don't know until this week. When key talent found out about it 2 weeks ago, they were shocked. After Punk was removed from Collision advertising and people found out about it due to a WBD mistake where they didn't remove him from an email link, WBD released a statement saying Punk is, quote, not affiliated with TNT's AEW Collision. Now, about this part of it, when WBD released that statement, according to Meltzer, the reaction within Warner Bros. Discovery after that was that they shouldn't have said that, and instead they should have just let it play out. Warner Bros. Discovery is reportedly hopeful that Punk and AEW can get back on the same page. As I mentioned, Khan appeared on AEW Dynamite this week and announced the upcoming dates and locations for AEW Collision, but did not announce the location of the premiere episode on June 17, instead saying that it will be announced next week. Of course, the expectation is that the United Center will be the location announced in Chicago, Illinois, but if Punk isn't returning, they don't want to be going to Chicago and have this whole debut and premiere episode be overshadowed by being in the hometown of a guy that people may have bought tickets to, thinking he was going to show up and then not showing up. So instead, they could go to Daly's place, but this is all about the hiring or rehiring of Ace Steele and Warner Bros. Discovery making mistakes. It's all just very, very messy, isn't it? Now, Eric Bischoff, as always, who has been hypercritical of CM Punk, has had his say on it. If AEW's reluctance to hire Ace Steele is the sticking point hindering CM Punk's AEW Collision debut, Eric Bischoff believes Punk is not worth the drama. Addressing the reports on his Strictly Business podcast, Bischoff called out AEW CEO Tony Khan for allowing Punk to dictate the future of AEW's new Saturday night show. Quote, unfortunately, Tony will find a way to allow this to continue and Punk will be back, which will be a big mistake, Bischoff said. Who the F is Ace Steele anyway? When informed of Steele's friendship with Punk and the role played by Steele in the infamous AEW Brawl Out situation, Bischoff doubled down on his earlier take. Just because he's a confidant of CM Punk's, why is he allowed to jeopardize the network premiere of a brand new show? Are you effing kidding me? People say I'm just being negative when I refer to the dysfunction within the infrastructure and the business side of AEW, but this is a good example. Bischoff then took a step back and recapped Punk eviscerating the AEW roster and brand during a press conference, referring to the infamous post-all-out media scrum. Bischoff believes that Punk should not be rewarded for his behavior and that AEW management should force him to pay Steele from his own pocket. Quote, they bring him back and make him a focal point of an entirely new show, but he decides to wet the bed because his confidant isn't allowed at the venue, Bischoff said of Punk. Who cares? Let Punk pay him. He's making $5 million a year or more than that. Let Punk pay him. Bischoff then proceeded to compare Punk's antics to that of Hulk Hogan, who was notorious for using his stroke, especially during his time in WCW. If anything, Bischoff believes Punk is a hypocrite for being anti-Hogan. Quote, all of these hardcore wrestling fans and Punk himself is so anti-Hogan because they think he's selfish and whatnot. Punk's worse, Bischoff said. Bischoff was still puzzled as to why AEW would announce a new show while still dealing with an open-ended legal issues that he suspects have yet to be resolved. Quote, there is no clear meeting of the minds here, Bischoff added. It, referring to the legal issues, has not been cleared up, and yet we're moving forward with this big announcement. That is a total abject failure on the part of the business side of AEW and quite frankly TBS. Did they check what was going on? They were certainly aware of all the drama and legal issues. Now, with or without Punk, as I mentioned, AEW is set to debut Collision every Saturday night beginning June 17. And according to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, there is a backup plan for if AEW can't secure Punk for that premiere episode at the United Center. They would move to Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida. But given all of that, and I know it's a lot there, what are your thoughts on all of it? What are your thoughts on the backup plan being Daly's Place in Jacksonville? What are your thoughts on the Ace Steel situation with Steel being brought back or maybe not being brought back, people not knowing about it, it being denied to a lot of people, but reportedly he was brought back, and Punk thinking he was going to be back on the road with Ace Steel, and then the last minute Ace Steel being pulled out, so Punk was unhappy about it. What are your thoughts on all of it? As always, guys, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. Now, let's switch gears here and talk about the AEW video game Fight Forever, because according to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, AEW Fight Forever is coming very soon. After years, literally years of speculation, a few moved tentatively planned release dates, Fightful Select has learned that as of yesterday, May 19, sorry Kane, the AEW Fight Forever release date is scheduled for June 27. Mike Straw accurately reported recently that he heard the date would be around the AEW New Japan Forbidden Door show. Fightful has heard from several retailers that they were told late June release before confirming June 27. Fightful have been told that AEW does hold rights to the engine, so a future game release with it is possible. The working plan was for the Ukes title to be a one-off with constant updates. Those that Fightful have heard from that have worked on the game say that it plays very smoothly and resembles WWF No Mercy in that sense. There are some limitations with the creator wrestler, and there weren't plans for a community creations that Fightful had heard of the last time they had asked. Fightful have been told that an official announcement about AEW Fight Forever would be coming over the next week. So stay tuned, because of course once we get an official update, an official announcement that it is coming for the end of June, that being June 27, of course we'll let you know. And once it is released, we are going to be streaming the game live here on the channel. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to subscribe, because AEW Fight Forever as well as WWE 2K23 streaming is coming very soon. Now, talk about Dynamite this week. There was an interesting backstage segment with MJF and Renee Paquette. Of course, MJF, the AEW World Champion, will be defending his title against Jungle Boy Jack Perry, Sammy Guevara, and Darby Allin at Double or Nothing on May 28. It remains to be seen if the current champion will walk out of the T-Mobile Center in Las Vegas, Nevada, with the gold still around his waist. But Adam Cole may be MJF's next challenger if he does overcome all of the odds. According to the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, a segment was reportedly filmed for this week's AEW Dynamite, in which Britt Baker told MJF that his days as champion are numbered. Her promo concluded with the words "Baby," indicating that Cole, Baker's real-life boyfriend, is next in line for a title shot. However, the segment was reportedly deemed too subpar to televise, which ultimately led to a new scene that saw MJF slap the microphone out of Renee Paquette's hand after she asked him about the Double or Nothing match. Cole, meanwhile, is currently involved in a high-profile storyline with Chris Jericho. The latest episode of AEW Dynamite saw him show up to cost the Jericho Appreciation Society leader in his Falls Count Anywhere match with Roderick Strong, which culminated with the participants fighting outside of the arena. Cole will have to go past Jericho before he moves on to MJF or any other champion. Now, speaking of Adam Cole, baby, his match against Chris Jericho is indeed now confirmed for Double or Nothing. AEW's Double or Nothing pay-per-view is right around the corner, and after feuding for weeks, Adam Cole and Chris Jericho are indeed set to clash at the big event. Friday night on Rampage, Jericho officially challenged Cole to an unsanctioned match in Las Vegas, Nevada. Before doing so, he called Cole a coward repeatedly and said he'd beat his ass if he was there. As it happened, Cole was right outside the Moody Center in Austin, Texas, where Rampage took place, but at that moment was not allowed to enter the building due to a previous order banning Cole from the building. That is, until Jericho ripped up said document, declaring it null and void. The two were eventually able to get their hands on one another, but not without security intervening and separating them multiple times. The rest will have to wait until the big event. Speaking of, Double or Nothing is scheduled for Sunday, May 28th. This will presumably be Cole's third match back since Forbidden Door last June, when he suffered a potentially career-threatening concussion. Upon returning, he wrestled his first match on the March 29 episode of Dynamite, defeating Daniel Garcia. And now he's going to have his third match against Chris Jericho at Double or Nothing. Let's talk about another big AEW event coming later this year, talking about AEW All In at London's Wembley Stadium. Now, ticket sales for AEW's All In event on August 27 have stalled, according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter's Dave Meltzer, after announcing that All In was heading to Wembley Stadium in London, England. Early returns couldn't have been much better, really, for AEW. Within 72 hours of tickets going on sale, AEW had sold just over 60,000 of them. Now, after this initial surge, however, that number really hasn't moved all of that much. Now, with 3 months still to go, there's still plenty of time to sell tickets, and obviously there have been no matches or even a card announced just yet. When the event was initially announced, some questioned why AEW didn't choose Craven Cottage as its London destination. After all, Tony's father, Shahid Khan, owns the Premier League club Fulham FC, which calls Craven Cottage its home. That said, it's no Wembley Stadium. Of both, Khan said earlier this week, those are two of my favourite places in the world, before admitting, I would love to do any big event in Craven Cottage, but Wembley's capacity of 90,000 to that of 30,000 is just one of the reasons why AEW All In is not the place for it. With the initial sales, AEW was able to sell twice as many tickets it could have for Craven Cottage, and while ticket movement has cooled in the weeks since the excitement since they went on sale, the excitement for the event remains high, so much so it even garnered comparisons to WrestleMania. AEW has also already shattered their previous attendance record of just over 20,000 for the first Grand Slam event at Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York in 2021. As of now, AEW has opened up 88,000 seats for All In. That means if it were to sell out, it would reportedly break WWE's all-time record for paid and total attendance. So certainly very interesting. And again, it's going to be interesting to see how many more tickets are indeed sold. Now, obviously, with the event getting closer and closer, plenty of names have been speculated for the show. One name who many have speculated as appearing is former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion Will Ospreay. In fact, last week, Dave Meltzer noted in the Wrestling Observer that Ospreay was booked in for the show, but it seems that Ospreay himself was not aware of that. Speaking to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, Ospreay was asked about potentially appearing at All In, to which he said, quote, "Oh mate, don't ask me. I stay in Essex. Go to Southend, bruv. There's a little adventure island down there, lovely pier. I'd stay away from London. I say all the time, I effing hate London. I can't be bothered. Can't be bothered with it. Nah, F it's off. Go Essex." When asked about the rumour that he was already booked for the show, he responded, quote, "I would love to know who said this because I didn't even effing know. So this is all effing news to me." Ospreay is booked for All In weekend, with him set to face off with Shingo Takagi at the Rev Pro event the night before. Ospreay is set to face off with either Hiroshi Tanahashi or Lance Archer at the New Japan Dominion show, with the winner earning a shot at Kenny Omega's IWGP United States Championship. So, as of the All-In status of Will Ospreay, he doesn't know. He doesn't even know who said it. He hasn't been told anything. But he could just be saying that, of course. Now, could AEW one day do a show in Madison Square Garden? Well, AEW once approached Madison Square Garden about hosting shows at the historic New York City Arena, but the building's long-standing relationship with WWE was delicate enough to nix its rival booking shows there. Raphael Morphy, AEW's Vice President of Live Events and Touring, opened up about the promotion's efforts to set up a working relationship with a venue in New York City during a recent interview on Talk Is Jericho. He said, quote, "I appreciate their loyalty and how they feel committed to WWE," Morphy told host Chris Jericho, a former AEW World Champion and top backstage advisor to CEO Tony Khan. With Madison Square Garden off the table, AEW looked elsewhere and landed a partnership with Arthur Ashe Stadium, a venue Morphy had originally eyed for WWE events when he used to work for the McMahon family. Morphy said his dreams of seeing wrestling inside Arthur Ashe didn't come to fruition during his time at WWE because there was concern about the stadium being fully open air at the time. The stadium had an upgrade completed in 2016, which gave it a retractable roof, opening the possibilities for AEW in later years. AEW ran its first show out of the stadium in 2021 with its inaugural Grand Slam event drawing more than 20,000 fans. Morphy said AEW has continued to have a great dialogue with Arthur Ashe Stadium and called its owners great people, noting the promotion has run two successful shows out of New York City's venue to date, with back-to-back Grand Slam events, establishing a dependable home in the city for AEW. Let's talk about Double or Nothing once again, because more matches indeed have been announced, including a TBS Championship. It's official, Jade Cargill will be putting her undefeated streak and the TBS Championship on the line against Taya Valkyrie on May 28 at AEW Double or Nothing. During the May 19 episode of Rampage, Cargill successfully defended her title against two consecutive opponents in rapid fashion as part of an open challenge. When a third one was invited to the ring, Valkyrie appeared and leveled the would-be challenger. Valkyrie then marched down to the ring to confront Cargill, catching her with a clothesline and the road to Valhalla before holding up the TBS Championship and telling Cargill she'd see her at the upcoming pay-per-view event. The pair first collided for the title on the April 26 episode of AEW Dynamite after tensions between them had bubbled over due to the similarity similarities of their finishes. Speaking of AEW Dynamite next week, a title match has been announced also for the show. AEW International Champion Orange Cassidy is nothing if not a fighting champion. And next Wednesday on Dynamite, he'll once again be putting his title on the line. Tony Khan made the announcement Friday night. International Champion Orange Cassidy defends the title against Kyle Fletcher, who aims to claim another major title on Wednesday in Las Vegas. Since defeating Pac for the championship last October, Cassidy has defended it on 21 separate occasions. He'll have his work cut out for him against Fletcher, though, who currently holds both the New Japan Strong Openweight Tag Team Championship and the IWGP Tag Team Championship in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Fletcher has been sporadically appearing for AEW since last June, when he and fellow United Empire members Mark Davis and Will Ospreay teamed up to take on FTR and Trent Beretta in a losing effort. Cassidy, on the other hand, of course, he's been with AEW since the very beginning. Now, what's quite interesting when it comes to Kyle Fletcher is he actually missed a recent episode of AEW Dynamite, and a match had to be rescheduled due to an illness. Now, Kyle Fletcher recently appeared backstage on the May 10 episode of AEW Dynamite, where he laid out International Champion Orange Cassidy, seemingly setting up a future match between the two. Fletcher then went on to defeat Action Andretti at the Rampage tapings that night, but he was not in action at this week's tapings. This is why this match had to be rescheduled. According to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, Fletcher was originally scheduled to be in action at this week's tapings, but was pulled after coming down with an illness. So obviously that match had to be rescheduled, and that's why we've got it this coming week on AEW Dynamite instead. Now, I spoke about some of the drama backstage in AEW at the moment. There's quite a bit of it. And Saraya has opened up on one of the more bigger backstage drama issues, that being the heat between Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker. And Saraya wants fans to get over talking about the issues between them. It's very well known by now that Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker can't stand each other in real life, and they never likely ever will. The feud has been featured on AEW's All Access reality show, which was filmed many months ago. Speaking on the Corner podcast, the former Page admitted that Thunder Rosa loves to talk, but she believes fans need to get over the drama and move on. She said, quote, "People need to get over that, dude. Thunder loves to talk, that's for sure. She definitely loves to talk. People think Britt talks a lot, but it's not. The reality show was filmed ages ago, and they're just repeating the story, so everyone thinks it's Britt bringing up all this stuff. And then she gets asked questions about it in interviews, and then it brings it all up again. She's not going out there and doing it, but Thunder just likes to talk about it." Now, what's quite interesting is then lots of people ran with this interview and said that Saraya said the AEW locker room had accepted Thunder Rosa's apology, and Saraya came out and said, "Well, I didn't really say that." She said, quote, "No, I didn't say they accepted it, not at any point. This is bullshit. That's absolutely up to them. I said she apologized, and this was all before my time there, so I don't know the deal. Dirt sheets being dirt sheets. I did say the locker room is effing awesome, though, and I love being a part of it." So Saraya saying, don't take my words out of context. Finally, Jungle Boy Jack Perry did a spot on AEW Dynamite this week that was pretty scary, it must be said. Now, during Perry's match with Roosh on AEW Dynamite, not only did the pillar end up bleeding from the head, but he also took a nasty landing spot from the apron. The spot was enough for referee Bryce Remsburg to have a signal to medical personnel that Jack Perry was okay and able to continue. Now, Dutch Mantel was very outspoken on social media, it must be said, has offered advice in the form of a warning to Jack Perry on social media, saying, quote, "Guys, if someone knows Jungle Boy, just mention great bump, but remind him that he's damaging his body quickly. Fans remember a bump 10 minutes. He'll remember that when he's 60 and halfway paralyzed. Good luck." Now, asked if he thinks that Jungle Boy would listen to the advice, Mantel went on to say, quote, "Hell no, young guys don't listen. They do what they do until one day they can't. But sorry, Alfredo, too late." So, do you agree with what Dutch Mantel said there? He's a big outspoken critic of AEW quite a lot. So maybe take that into consideration. What are your thoughts on that? And what are your thoughts on all of the AEW news stories today? Let me know your thoughts, as always, in the comment section below. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. Remember, you can join the WN365 roster by clicking that join button. And I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.